How's it going, guys? It's Nate here with Glow Lights, and in this video we're going to be going over how to give a quote. When you're meeting with a client for the first time, what's the process from start to finish? It's really important to have a process, that way you're not showing up frazzled, not knowing what's going on. And my process is as follows. I text them when I'm on my way. You need to give them a heads up, right? And I knock on the door. Before I measure, before I do anything else, the first thing I do is say, hey, I'm Nate, nice to meet you. I do a little bit of rapport, and then I lay out how it's going to go. I say, I'm going to measure the house right now. It's going to take me about 10 to 15 minutes. Afterwards, I can knock on the door, and then we can talk about product, price, and everything else. So lay out the foundation for what's going to happen. Once I do that, they either stay out and hang out with me for a minute, or they just go inside and wait. So I'm going to take out my clipboard or my iPad. I'm going to measure the house. I'm going to get them a really good idea of, lights and where they want them. Now you can ask them, where do you want lights installed? Should I quote the front, sides, or whatever? If you don't ask them, it might help, because then you can just measure the whole property, and it's going to be really expensive. And if they only wanted the front, it might actually be a good sales tactic for you to start with a high price and then say, here's how much just the front is going to be. Okay, so I do my color match, I measure the house, I get a really good idea of pricing before I go and knock on the door again. Once I knock on the door, we're going to find somewhere to sit down. Okay, and ideally we're going to have both homeowners present, or spouse or partner or whatever it may be, sitting down at a spot where you can plug in a strand of lights and then show them the product. And I go into my whole spiel of value stacking. Okay, I don't go into comparison, and the product questions are great because it helps me lean into what makes us good. If you get the question of competitor A does this, do you also do that? Or these guys were cheaper than you, like, do you also do this? I always just say, hey, competitor A is good, here's why we're great. I never bash, I never talk bad about another company. I just lean into the value of what we provide, okay? Product in general is not the greatest topic when you're trying to close a sale. People don't want to hear all the specs unless they ask you. So instead of just focusing on the product, tell them the value they're going to receive. How are they going to feel with the lights on their home? Is it going to be an experience for them? Are they going to have increased safety? Are they going to have all these opportunities to celebrate and to share and to not fall off a ladder? I mean, there's a fear tactic too. Like, we don't want people getting hurt. So I always build that up in people's minds. So that way when price comes after, it matches. If you start with price and you just talk about product, they're not going to know where the value is. But if you pitch to them that value, it's called a value stack. By the time you tell them the price, it makes sense as to why it costs what it costs. And it's really important to have this sales process laid out, so that way people feel like, oh, we're at step one, now we're step two, now we're going through this. And at the very end, you can say, okay, here's the price. We usually take a 50% deposit or whatever you charge, and we could get you installed under, we can get you installed with the next few weeks or whatever your schedule is. So there's always tips and tricks that you can learn with closing a sale, but having a process laid out of how it's going to work, pitching the value, showing them the lights, giving them a demo is always going to be super helpful and increase your sales. So to wrap up, product isn't as effective as emotion and value. Don't talk bad about your competitors, and focus on what makes you guys unique, and you're going to be just fine. So if you like this video, like it, comment any questions you have, and subscribe if you want to see more.